Greetings friends, welcome. Today we're looking at Mimic-CSS, which is a Tailwind alternative that allowed you to write CSS directly into the class attribute. So the same as Tailwind, but no magic class names. Actual CSS. You get to use your CSS knowledge, get to keep your CSS knowledge, you get to improve your CSS knowledge while getting the benefits of a design system like Tailwind, Mimic-CSS in this case. I'm going to take us through a quick example of setting it up and show some of the other differences as well that it has between Tailwinds. Before I do that, if you find yourself enjoying the video, feel free to click subscribe below. You'll get updates for future videos. All right, so let's jump in. I've got a very simple setup here. Just got a couple of divs. They're in a flex container. We got a left side and a right side here because they're justified. And we've got a nice font size there to make them quite large. So this is all in the style tag at the moment. Now, to convert this over to Mimic, we just want to put this into the class tag now. So I'm just going to take all of that out for the moment. Well, we do need to install Mimic. Let me do that. All right, we need to do npx Mimic-CSS. That'll download it and start running it in the background for us. I'll just close that off. So that's running now, and it's going to create a CSS file for us with all of our generated classes. If we look in here, there's a Mimic-CSS. Nothing in it yet, but we need to have a link to it. So let's have a link to Mimic-CSS, and that's it for setting up Mimic. You do npx Mimic-CSS, you include mimic.css. You can then start writing directly into the class tag your CSS, your standard CSS. So I can say display flex in here. If I save that off, you can see, although it's very small down there, it has put it back into the container again. Let's look in Mimic. So it's generated this class for us. This is our class, and it's just got the standard CSS display flex in there. So you can see it's monitoring this file for us. Let's put the font size back in. And it was like something like 70px. Save that off. Look in Mimic. Creates a class for us. Refresh down here. It's got the font size applied. Let's now, what was the other thing? It had justify content, didn't it? So let's have justify content and space around. Save that off and refresh, and you can see that gets applied. So we should have 3 classes now. If I look at Mimic, we've got 1, 2, 3 classes created for us. So you can see Mimic is analyzing our HTML, creating classes for us with this name, this actual CSS name, and that allows us to apply this CSS to our data. Now, that's all well and good, but what does that actually enable you to do? Well, similar to Tailwind, one of the main things you can do is add media queries directly to this. So if you consider you're doing lots and lots of work and you just want to add one little change for when the screen's big, you can either go and create a whole new class and give it a name, a specific name. That can get hard to maintain, but in here we will just be able to directly tweak it within the CSS. So I could say, all right, let's not do the flex unless it's a fairly wide screen. So if it was a PC widescreen, which I specify with the question mark here, when I save that off, if we look in Mimic, we get a media query created. So now our display flex is only applied when our screen width is greater than 1280. If I refresh down here, it should be greater than 1280. And if I now make this small, at some point it will become less than 1280 and our display flex will no longer be applied. You can see there. So that's the first thing. We can add media queries inline in the class attribute. Just close that one off. Right, and I'll come back out here. Okay, what else can we do? Well, we can provide consistency across the website. Things like 70px here, if you have that on your header, and then you come back a few weeks later and you do another page and you want to know what size, you've got to go and look this up, and it's not necessarily going to be consistent. So we have set values that you can configure as well, that you just hook into. So say we can say 2XL here, and if I save that off, if I come into Mimic, you'll see our class now 2XL actually maps to a physical value 92px. So wherever we use 2XL, we'll always get the same value, which I said is configurable as well. Let me refresh, and you can see that is applied down here. So you've got media queries, you've got consistent values for things like font size, borders, colors. We can do color as well. Let's do, if I take this one out just so that we can see it a bit easier, how about we do color? So you could set the color again just with an arbitrary value. So say I did color red, then we get the text red. But again, you want to kind of have a set palette for your website. So we've got 4 colors that you can have. Again, you can customize, but we can have color palette 1, and then we've got 4 colors A, B, C, D. So C1A. If I refresh that now, you can see that has changed. And you'll see in here, again, similar to 2XL mapping to a certain value, color palette 1A maps to this color here. So anywhere we use this again through the website, you can have that consistency. So media, sizes, colors. What's the other thing? You can do pseudo classes. So we could apply, let me take this one off here, and I'll take the color off as well. And what we can apply is pseudo classes. So I could say only on hover, let's do it on the font size. Let's do only on hover it's going to apply this font size. So if I say that off, is going to go very small. And if I refresh it, once I hover over, you can see it gets the font size applied. So looking in Mimic, you can see it looks a little bit weird because you've got this hover. But this is our class name. You can see it's escaped with the backslash, the colon there. So this is what we've got in our class attributes. And then this is the actual CSS hover here. And so when we have a hover, the font size gets set to 92. So you can do pseudo classes as well. And then one other difference, the main thing is that you can write CSS in this compared to something like Tailwind. But one other thing you can do as well is if you're getting lots and lots of tags, you can actually, for speed in prototyping little websites, you can actually create your own classes. So this would be applicable to, say, a button. So say we had a button here, and we wanted to set up, let's make it so that the font size is XL this time, and we would say border radius is a medium border radius. Refresh that. I'll make it bigger actually. Let's go 2XL. Right. Now, you can picture, to make a really nice button, you can add a lot of things in here. Colors and shadows and all sorts. The list goes on. And then you have another button, and you could maybe just go and copy the whole thing. That's fine. But if you didn't want to do that, you can actually get Mimic to create a class for you on the fly. So if I do the @apply here and say my button, then when I save that off, what we'll see is we get a new class created, my button this time, and the font size is in there. Let me try and, can I move this, split this, split right might work. You see enough? Over there. I'll just make this, might go a little bit small, but you'll be able to see it updating now. So if I add again my button to the border radius, then what you'll see is that appends this into our class. So we've got the my button class, and it's got the font size here, and it's also got the border radius. So when you do come to create a new button, you can simply just put the my button class on it, and you do need to apply it to this one as well, because now it's just in the class. When I refresh, we should see that that is then applied to both of them. So you get this reuse here. I'm not sure if you recommend using this apart from in the prototyping, but the functionality is there nevertheless. So there we go. Mimic-CSS. Write things in the class attribute. Well, write CSS in the class attribute. Utilize your CSS. Don't get tied in to a proprietary product, but get the benefits of a design system. Increase your CSS knowledge for small prototyping, fast websites. Very easy to set up, very quick, very easy to get that written. Hope that was interesting. Thanks very much for watching though, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up by the way. Thumbs down if not, and I'll catch you next time.